Hello.
All right. Yeah. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're just getting ready to get started. Glad to have you.
Yeah.
So, this is our Time to Tell the Truth series. We're glad to have you all here today. And listen, get ready to receive some powerful information. Hopefully, it will be a blessing to you. Let me make a couple of changes here. Mute everybody out. And I'm going to, here we go. All right, so this is our Time to Tell the Truth series. Remember that TV show? Some of you may remember that TV show. That's what that picture is in the backdrop there. It used to be a show called To Tell the Truth, and people would jump up and down, trying to throw you off. Well, that's happening in our society, right? People are trying to throw us off, not giving us the whole truth and nothing but the truth. My name is Dr. Rosalind Shaw Belt. For those of you that don't know who I am, everybody calls me Dr. Roz. I am the CEO of Dream to Life Productions, Ministry, Complex, so many things that we try to do to help people bring their dreams to life. I am a wonderfully blessed wife, musician, and I do a number of other things as well. Previously president of a record company, and you see all the stuff there. But I'm not a medical doctor. I want you to recognize that. But I am a certified wellness coach here at Akana. Certified wellness coach. And so there are things that I'm able to do and able to share with you that I hope that will really, really, really be a blessing to you so that you can get some much needed education to do the things that you're called to do. As I said, certified wellness coach as well as certified econopreneur and lifestyle consultant. These are the certifications, but I just do a whole lot of study and a whole lot of research. So here's the question. Do you know your blood type? Right? So our subject today that we're going to talk about is the power of knowing your blood type and the power of eating according to your blood type. So what's this thing about blood type? Now, I'm not just going to tell you right now in this session, Time to Tell the Truth. I'm going to give you a full scope of this whole concept of blood type, even the science behind it, what makes it work, what makes it tick. Why do I want to know about it? Other than the fact of saying that it's a more reliable measure of your identity than race, culture, or geography, it is literally a genetic blueprint of who you are and a guide to how you can live most healthfully. So what does that mean? If you don't know your blood type, you really don't know yourself. Now that's a powerful statement, right? And most of us don't feel bad. Most of us don't know. But I want to share information, but I also want you to hear from experts because as I told you, I'm not a medical doctor, but I love it when I can find MDs or there's this gentleman is a DDS, doctor of dentistry. Check what he says.
What is your blood type? Do you know? Why not? Let's talk about it. Hi, my name is Jeffrey Butts and I'm a doctor of dental surgery, and this channel is all about health and wealth for you to be healthy and wealthy. And today we are asking a question. Do you know what your blood type is? Now, that may not be the party question, but I have asked it during parties, and yes, I get weird responses like, why do you want to know? What's wrong with you? And that's fine, but why would you know what your blood type is? In knowing what your blood type is, then you could discern what foods you should and shouldn't eat based on your body chemistry. Some people should be vegans, some people should be carnivores, some people should be somewhere in between. Your food is the nutrient that the machine that the body is that takes in. It's the fuel for the body, right? You still got to get good sleep. You still have to exercise. You still have to have detoxification moments in the form of a bowel movement or fasting, intermittent fasting, 24, 48-hour fasting, something like that. And then, of course, the last one is mindfulness behavior, which is good thoughts, good attitude, gratitude, forgiveness of yourself and of others, learning how to meditate, things like that, or mental behavior, affirmations. That's a mental behavior. So your blood type, I believe, if you know what it is, then you'll more easily be able to choose the foods that you should and shouldn't eat. So you are out there in this world just eating everything up, not knowing what you're supposed to be eating, and you're having some health problems. And I see it on a daily. Usually it's in the first form of weight gain. That's the first form. And then the second form is chronic diseases. So psoriasis, diabetes, high blood pressure, inflammation that is derived by you not giving your body the correct, proper nutrient that your body needs. Now, if you see the guy on TV, right, and he is a bodybuilding, super physique, strongman, vegan, okay, and he looks great, and he says, you need to be vegan. Okay, strong guy. He might have a point because his body looks like one that you can trust. You're saying that body does not eat any meat at all? That's pretty cool. And you might want to emulate what that person's doing. Well, slow down, because I say you need to know what your blood type is, what your body chemistry is before, because veganism for some people is perfect, voila. And for some people, it's not so well. I, in my own personal experience, had tried to be vegan, and I was a terrible vegan. I'm a O blood type. I know what I am now, and apparently I could use the benefit of meat in my life because my stomach acid is so high that if I was breaking down proteins that you can find in plants, my stomach acids burn up the proteins before I get the benefits of the nutrient, as opposed to a meat, whereas it's burning up the muscle and breaking it down, I am able to derive those proteins in the form of the broken down form, which is amino acids, for me to ingest and use for my own protein growth. That's what I get out of that. So that's why I say people should know what their blood type is. So do you know what your blood type is? Well, look, if you don't, I got an easy way to do it. In the description below, I have the perfect blood type kit that you can get. It's for you to find out. You just get it, follow the directions, find out what your blood type is. I also have in the description the book, the Eat Right for Your Type book, written by Dr. Peter D'Adamo. That book is available for you to read up on yourself, so you can find out what you should and shouldn't be doing at an even higher level than this video can go. All right, so knowing what your blood type is just that. It's just knowing who you are. You know what your astrological sign is. You do, all right? So why not also know what your blood type is? That's a sign. That's something. That's east side, that's west side, something, y'all. So if you don't know, you need to know. Go out and find it. And then if you're having any kind of health-related issues and you have what your blood type is, in the description, actually on my website, campcreekdental.com, you could get the blood type sheets. Once you find out what your blood type is, you can go over there and then you could download what your blood type is. And if you want to go even further, you can do an allergy test based on the foods it says that you shouldn't eat and see if you're allergic to them.
Amazing. I love it when I found somebody else that's saying the same thing we're saying. Do you know your blood type? There are 4 blood types, in case you didn't know. So if you're saying you got a G or a D or an H, one of those other alphabets, no, not so. There are 4 major blood types. Now, I'm going to get into a little technicalities about the blood types because people kind of run into some other stuff as well. So I want to kind of really make it clear in case you run into somebody that's got a little more knowledge than you do, maybe so, right? But the whole thing about this, it's the genetic fingerprint that identifies you. I'm going to say the statement again. If you don't know your blood type, you don't know who you are.
There's a lot of phenotypes that are easy to tell. Your eye color, your hair texture, your height, whether you have a straight thumb or hitchhiker thumb. But one phenotype that you can't tell just by looking is your blood type. Your blood is really made up of many things: platelets, plasma, red blood cells. But you've probably heard before that when blood is donated, it's very important that it is matched correctly. And that's true because blood type phenotypes vary. It really boils down to the fact that red blood cells, they're not naked. They have proteins on their surface. And it turns out that your immune system is very protective, and if it gets blood that's donated that has different proteins that it's not used to, it will attack them. With blood type, you can have several different phenotypes: A, B, AB, or O. These letters stand for antigens that are found on the red blood cells. So type A blood, for example, has A antigens on the surface of red blood cells. Type B blood, for example, has B antigens on the surface of red blood cells. Type AB has both A and B antigens on the surface of red blood cells. Type O, I like to think of it looking like a zero. It doesn't have A or B antigens. It's naked. Well, okay, it does have other proteins on its surface, but not A or B. So think of O as looking like a zero. Doesn't have A or B. So if you have type B blood, you have B antigens on the surface of red blood cells. That means a person with type B can accept another person's type B blood because B is an antigen that their body recognizes. But if you try to give that person a type A blood type, that's an antigen that the immune system does not recognize. That person's immune system would attack. It would also attack AB blood because that includes the A that it doesn't recognize. Now type O would be safe. Remember, O, think of like a zero. It doesn't have A or B antigens, so type O can donate to everyone. Now, while O individuals can donate to everyone, they can only receive blood from another type O. Because type O doesn't have A or B antigens, so their immune system will attack any other blood type that does. Neither of us have type AB blood, but we would think this is a cool blood type to have in the sense that you could receive blood from anyone. If an AB person received blood from a person that had type A, well, they've got the A, so it's all good. And if an AB person received blood from a person that had type B, well, they've got the B antigen too, so it's all good. They can receive blood from type O too because there's not any antigens to even worry about. Now, one thing we do want to add that makes all of this a bit more complicated: blood types also have a plus or minus sign listed by the blood type. This makes a big difference with blood donations. If you have a plus, it means that you have this other little protein called Rh factor on the surface of your blood cells. And if you have a negative, it means that you do not have this little protein called Rh factor on the surface of your red blood cells. Now, we're not going to be able to go into that in this short clip, so to the Google for that if you would like to learn more about this. Blood type is genetically inherited, and a great example of multiple alleles. Remember that alleles are a form of a gene, like a flavor. Just an analogy. So let's put this into practice. Let's say a couple gives birth to a baby boy. Both parents have type A blood, but then there is a mix-up at the hospital. And now, sorry, I get really into my drama. There are these two baby boys, and the hospital does not know which one belongs to the couple. Probably not a hospital where you would want to have kids, but let's try and use our blood type genetic problem-solving skills to help us out here. Baby Phil has type B blood, and baby Sylvester has type O blood. Could either of these babies belong to the couple who both have type A blood? Well, let's talk about phenotypes and genotypes. The phenotype of type A blood is A, but the genotype is written like this or this. The format of writing here helps with multiple alleles like blood type problems, and we can show you why when we work this out in the Punnett square. Now, you may notice that I said that blood type A could be written this way or this way. Without testing, we don't really know which one it is. You can consider this one to be homozygous and this one to be heterozygous. The phenotype of type B blood is B, but the genotype is written as this or this. The phenotype of type AB blood is AB, and the genotype is written this way. There's no other way to write that one. The phenotype for type O blood is O, and the genotype is written like this. Remember how I said that the O kind of looks like a 0, and so you can think of it as having 0 blood type antigens? Well, that's what it is. Little I, no coefficient. Okay, back to the babies. We are told the parents both have type A, but remember, we don't know whether that means they are this type A, the homozygous, or this type A, the heterozygous. And the mom could be one of those genotypes, and the father could be the other genotype, or they could both be the same genotype. We just don't know. Okay, so let's try it out with all of the possibilities. Remember that we write the parent genotypes on the top and the side of the Punnett squares, like this. We'll fill in the Punnett squares, and we'll make sure to have capital I's first, just for formatting purposes. Okay, so is it possible to get baby Phil, who has type B, in any of these offspring? Nope, he must be someone else's baby. What about baby Sylvester with his type O? Yes, it is possible, but both parents would have to be heterozygous A. That means they both must be this. Then yes, you would have a 25% chance, that's 1 in 4 here, of having a baby with type O blood. Of course, if I was advising this couple, I would also insist on a DNA test, as this blood type problem only shows that it's possible that baby Sylvester is theirs. Well, that's it for the Amoeba Sisters, and we remind you to stay curious.
So the whole thing about this is that our blood type doesn't just derive from us, it derives from our parents. See, it's all about what's in the red blood cells. It's what's the antigen, which is the technical term, the antigen. Group A has only the A antigen in the red blood cells. B has the B in the antigen in the red blood cells. The group AB has A and B, and O has none in the red blood cells. So if we understand that, then we've got to understand the difference between genes and alleles. Because actually the ABO blood type is determined by 2 alleles, one from each parent. The blood type group describes what antigens are present on the red blood cells. The genotype explains the genetics basis for those antigens or those alleles.
Thanks for stopping by. Today we're going to talk about the difference between genes and alleles. Let's start with genes. Genes are sections of DNA which code for a specific trait. You have literally thousands of genes. You have genes for eye color, hand size, metabolism, cell structure, and every other piece of your body. It's not as simple as one gene for one trait, but most basic biology classes discuss it this way for simplicity. All right, let's move on to alleles. So alleles are different forms of the same gene. Think of it as a different flavor or variety. Let's use an analogy. If Coca-Cola were the gene, the alleles would be diet, classic, caffeine-free, vanilla, cherry, or whatever kind of Coke it is. All right, using the eye color gene, the alleles would be green, brown, gray, blue, hazel, just the different options for eye color. Just remember, the gene specifies which trait, and the allele specifies what form the gene takes. Okay, let me say that again. This is the bottom line. The gene specifies which trait, and the allele specifies what form the gene takes. All right, and that's it. Check out my other genetics videos, and if you have any questions, throw them in the comments. Thanks.
So why is this important? Why are we going through all this scientific stuff? Because I'm going to show you later why food is important as it relates to this. See, it's important not only because of us being an A and a B, but it's important because it breaks down even further than that, how we're affected by it, where it came from. The A's stands for agrarian society. The B stand for balance. The O stand for O because it's the oldest blood type originating in Africa and migrating to Europe and Asia. AB is for the modern, the most rare. So do you know what your blood type is? Okay, for those of you, put it in the chat. If you know your blood type, you need to know. You need to know. Let's start off why you need to know, because you need to know who you can donate to. So, of course, now when you get to the hospital, they're going to make sure, but wouldn't it good to be for you to know yourself, right? O's can donate. Group O can donate red blood cells to anybody. It's called the universal donor. So it can go to the O's, the A's, the B's, and the ABs. Now, the A's can only donate to the A's and the ABs. The B's can only donate to the B's and the ABs. And of course, the ABs can, unfortunately, only donate to the ABs. But then you heard her talking about the RH, plus or minus, and many of you know you're O positive or O negative or B plus, B positive or B negative. Well, this is the third antigen, a protein called RH factor. Now, when that RH is there are various things that take place regarding your blood that doesn't take place when it's absent. Now, being absent is not a negative. It's not a, oh my God, you don't have an RH. Because it's negative. No, but that does matter when it comes to your diet. Because people with positive blood type have the antigen on the surface of their red blood cells, and people with the negative blood type do not. I'm bringing this out because I'm the kind of person, I want to know the ins and the outs of this whole concept. I really want to totally understand it.
What is your blood type? Do you know? In knowing what your blood type is, you could discern what foods you should and shouldn't eat based on your body chemistry. So you are out there in this world just eating everything up, not knowing what you're supposed to be eating, and you're having some health problems. And I see it on a daily. Usually it's in the first form of weight gain. That's the first form. And then the second form is chronic diseases. So psoriasis, diabetes, high blood pressure, inflammation that is derived by you not giving your body the correct, proper nutrient that your body needs. Knowing what your blood type is just that. It's just knowing who you are. You know what your astrological sign is. You do, all right? So why not also know what your blood type is?
That was so good, I had to play it twice, right? Because it's about our immune system, guys. COVID hit and it put people down, it knocked people out, people died because their immune system was compromised. So many of them, had they known their blood type, they would have had a better situation regarding their immune system, because we have this God-given thing in our body called an immune system that God made that actually identifies whether a substance in your body, when you eat it, when you drink it, whatever it is that you intake, your immune system looks at it and says, is that an enemy or is that a friend? And one method involves a group of chemical markers that we've just been talking about, the antigens that are on the cells of your body. One of the most powerful antigens in the human body is the one that determines blood type. So when the body senses a foreign substance, the immune system works to recognize that antigen and get rid of them. But if your immune system is not in its optimum performance, well, check this.
Our bodies are under attack daily. Pathogens hijack healthy cells, treating them as a hotbed to multiply and to grow further in our bodies. Thanks to our immune system, we're able to fend off these attacks all the time. There are two types of immune defense that protect us from these sneaky invaders. The innate system acts as the first responder to eliminate any invaders. The adaptive system requires some form of training, serving as a second line of defense against specific invaders. Now, let's take a look at some of the main forces in our body's defense unit. In the innate system, natural killer cells identify and eliminate infected and cancerous cells, whereas dendritic cells gobble up pathogens, break them into pieces, and send signals to the second line of defense to initiate a more precise and targeted response. Macrophage engulfs foreign bodies and repairs damaged tissues. In the adaptive system, cytotoxic T cells eliminate mutated or infected cells. Helper T cells give commands to B cells to secrete antibodies and inactivate or remove any threats. As our immunity declines with age, it affects their ability to fight against foreign invaders as well as cancerous cells. Store your immune cells today.
It's really funny, right? I love these animated things because it just kind of makes sense to me. So when cancerous cells come in, and cancer cells attack our body all the time, But when your immune system is up to par, as you see, it's knocking them down, it's killing them, it's gobbling them up, it's shooting them away. But now, when it's not up to par because of our diet, which actually causes that immune system to weaken over time, now we've got cancer cells coming in saying, I'm in control, I'm gonna be a Pac-Man and I'm gonna eat you all up, and I'm going all throughout your body, and that's called being metastasized. But your blood type, if you know it, is the key to your body's entire immune system. It controls the influence of the viruses, the bacteria, the infections, the chemicals, the stress, and the entire assortment of invaders. We got to stop the invaders. Medication doesn't stop the invaders. It puts a hold on them, it puts a light on them, and it makes them sit there, but they're still there. We got to get rid of the invaders and the conditions that might compromise your immune system. What compromises your immune system? Things like being a diabetic. You say, I'm a diabetic, I've got high blood pressure. All these things are compromising the immune system because, as we saw, the immune system is supposed to knock them out, slough them off, just like duck water off a duck's back. Maybe 5%. 5%, they're going to filter through the bloodstream. But that won't cause you to have the damage that could normally happen because some part of the lectins are okay. But if your immune system is not operating at its optimum level, that 95% is not happening. That may be down to 50%. That may be down to 25%. That's called disease. That's called sickness. And people have had even diets that's based on lectins. Check this out.
Some people are saying, hey, move over gluten. There's a new diet craze in town. And this diet craze claims certain foods most all of us consider them healthy might actually cause disease. Check it out. When it comes to our diets, America is obsessed with what we put in and don't put in our bodies. Just look at what's behind the doors of the past 4 decades. Shake fever shook us hard in the 80s, with people reaching for a straw instead of a fork. Then we found ourselves at the height of a fat-free frenzy in the early 90s. We cleared our cupboards of carbs in the later part of the decade. And in most recent years, we've guzzled the juice and given up gluten for good. But did all of this pave the way for the newest diet craze? The lectin-free movement? Lectins are small proteins in plants that one doctor argues cause a whole buffet of health problems, including inflammation, digestive issues, and autoimmune diseases. So should we be aware of lurking lectins in our food and give our diets yet another makeover? So should we clear our plates of lectins? Dr. Stephen Gundry, the author of The Plant Paradox, believes so. But cardiologist Dr. Joel Kahn says not so fast. They're both joining us now in a diet debate. And Dr. Gundry, I'm going to start with you. Tell us why you claim lectins are the enemy.
Well, quite frankly, plants don't like us. They were here first. They don't want to be eaten. They don't want their babies eaten. And they defend themselves by lectins. Now, unfortunately, most animals get the point very quickly. But as most of us know, humans are very stupid. And so what I found is that when we have pain or arthritis or depression or autoimmune diseases, we keep eating these things, and then we try to fix the problem with pharmaceutical drugs instead of finding the source of the problem and eliminating that. One of the nice things we found is that not only can we get rid of autoimmune diseases, but there's a huge side benefit. Most people lose weight on this program. Nice.
How did this, come about?
When I was chairman at Loma Linda University of Surgery, I met a man who, with this diet, reversed 50% of all the inoperable blockages in his heart in 6 months' time. And he also lost 45 pounds. And I was so impressed that actually my research as an undergraduate at Yale, I got out and found out that what he was doing was eliminating primarily large lectin load in his diet. And that's how he reversed the heart disease.
Is there anyone who should avoid this diet?
I haven't met one yet.
And I want to ask you, because you suggest avoiding things like tomatoes, peppers, legumes, almost all grains. What can we eat?
Yeah, I mean, we're eliminating a lot of things that we talk about on the show all the time as being the things that we want to eat and that are good for us. So I want to hear this answer.
Yeah, and I believe this too. And I was 70 pounds overweight, had arthritis, even though I ran 30 miles a week and went to the gym 1 hour a day. And when I took these foods away from my diet, I was a healthy, vegetarian following Adventist at Loma Linda. But what I want people to do is eat and party like it's 9,999 years ago.
Does that mean we put on our caveman outfits and our loincloths?
So we didn't have grains then. We didn't have beans then. And what's shocking is none of us in America are from America. We're from Europe, Asia, and Africa. So that none of us were ever exposed to a healthy American plant like tomatoes, like peppers, like peanuts, like cashews, like potatoes. And we shouldn't be eating those because in evolution, 500 years is speed dating. And we have not had an opportunity to get used to these plants.
So when I heard this, I went, whoa, man. I mean, that's absolutely amazing, mind blowing. Then I continued to do some more research, and then I found this.
What's going on, Jigsaw crew? It's Thomas DeLauer. That is not a real apple, but it still looks cool like it does with Jigsaw. Anyway, today I'm talking about lectins. Lectins are a component of food, 30% of all of our food, that start talking about how lectins are digested. You see, because lectins are so big and because there's so many things bound together, they run through our digestive system like an absolute maniac, like a raging bull just totally destroying things. Let me explain it like this. Inside your intestinal tract, you have these things called villi. Villi are basically like little finger-like things that stick out of your intestinal tract, right? So you've got your small intestine and it's got these small little fingers that absorb nutrients. So food comes along and it goes in between the villi, okay? And that's how it absorbs. But when you have lectins involved, lectins cause the molecules to bind together. So now your villi have no longer become an absorption mechanism, they've become bowling pins and the lectins are a bowling ball. And it comes through and it pummels them and it destroys them. When that happens, you've inhibited digestion because you no longer have the villi to absorb the nutrients. So now, instead of having all of this surface area to absorb nutrients, you have this. So you have just completely eradicated the chance of absorbing some really good nutrients. That's where lectins cause a big problem, and that's where they get such a bad rap. So to add insult to injury, once the villi is damaged, you now have trauma. Trauma equals inflammation. Inflammation equals antibodies. Antibodies equal a myriad of other issues that occur within the intestinal tract. But it gets even worse. Since you've caused damage and since you've caused trauma and since you've now caused inflammation, you have opened yourself up to those lectins getting into the bloodstream through what's known as a leaky gut. Now, I don't want to spend a lot of time on a leaky gut because you've probably heard about it. Basically, it causes an opening so that things can leak through the intestinal tract and into the bloodstream that ordinarily would not. This means things like lectins. These lectins barely belong in the digestive system, let alone in the bloodstream. So now that these lectins are floating around in the bloodstream, we have inflammation being triggered up everywhere, but we also have another issue. Lectins really have a nice affinity for insulin receptors and a nice affinity for leptin, that's leptin with a P, receptors. What does that mean? It means that lectins can ultimately lead to diabetes and diabetes-like symptoms, or at least insulin resistance, but it can also lead to leptin resistance, which is what dictates whether your metabolism goes fast or slow. Leptin communicates with your brain, and I know that's confusing because you have lectin and leptin, so don't get too caught up on that. Basically, all it means is that if these lectins get through your intestinal tract, they can really funk some stuff up. Now, normally a little bit of damage to those villi is normal, right? So if you consume food, it's going to break it down a little bit, but it actually encourages them to grow back stronger. But when you have lectins, they damage them so bad, they don't grow back very well. And continually, the lectins basically blunt the regrowth of the villi. So now you have the situation where the villi is damaged and it can't regrow. So can you cause permanent damage to your gut? Not really, but you can cause long-term enough damage that it is going to be hard to absorb nutrients for quite some time. But that's enough negative, scary stuff about lectins, because we really have to talk the cold, hard truth here. Again, 30% of the foods that we consume have lectins. Lectins are there as a good mechanism for our cells to communicate. So then why are they so bad? Well, they're only bad if you're consuming a ton of them. Okay, we really just need to consume them in moderation because a small amount can actually be good. You see, a small amount can activate what's known as the complementary immune system, which can actually help fight pathogens. So lectins can work advantageously towards good health with your immune system. But again, just in moderation. And a lot of it comes down to how you cook the foods that contain lectins. You're not going out and eating raw beans, are you? I sure hope not, because if that's the case, then we have some other things to talk about. But the thing is, lectins are prevalent in raw foods and if you're not cooking them all the way. So when you look at beans, you simply want to be soaking them for a long time before you cook them, which if you look at the package, usually it tells you to do so to begin with. So soak your beans, soak your grains, soak your legumes, soak your lentils, and then cook them all the way through at a moderately high temperature. The other thing that causes excess release of lectins is cooking them slowly. So if you slow cook beans or you slow cook chili, you're going to have more lectins than if you soak your beans and then cook them at high heat like you're supposed to. It's plain and simple. You really should just follow the directions that are on the label, and you're probably not going to have that much of an issue with lectins. But also, you may not want to be consuming copious amounts of beans to begin with. One, you have other things that are going on, like your body lacks the enzymes to break down a lot of the proteins in beans to begin with. But you also have a family to be concerned with, and I don't think that they want you eating a lot of beans day in and day out. All right, Jigsaw, now I know you're not out there eating fake fruit and fake food, but you're still probably not getting your minerals.
So that's this thing about lectins, and it's really all about how we cook it, how we cook the food. So we've got to understand that all of this is attacking our immune system. That's why I wanted you to understand about the lectins, because we hear about lectins, but we don't really understand. Okay, so we know. I saw another one where they were saying de-seed. There are some cultures that de-seed their tomatoes. Because tomatoes are wonderful for us, but it's those seeds, the lectins are in the seeds, and sometimes those seeds that we're eating. So your blood type is what's a determinant in how your body's going to interact with the food you eat. So if we can change even the way we're cooking that food, like you said, we're not doing raw beans, or we're cooking them slow. We got to soak them, do what you got to do to get the lectins decreased in them. Because if those foods will cause inflammation, digestive problems, and weight gain, it's causing the problems that we're having. And many of us are just eating and we don't know why it's happening because we're eating against our blood type. And so when we eat foods contained in the protein lectins that we were just talking about that are incompatible with our blood type antigen, then those lectins that are already not good for us are targeting our organs and our bodily symptoms. And then they clog us up. The technical term is agglutinate. They agglutinate blood cells in their area of disposal. And then we create highly carcinogenic substances in our body when we regularly, there's the key word, regularly consume foods that are high in lectins. Many of us don't even recognize we're eating certain foods in our diet every day, every week, every month that are high in lectins or animal protein. So what does it matter, you say? There's a consequence. Yeah, it's truth or consequences, right? Because agglutination is the clumping of bacteria. And when that bacteria begins to clump, it causes the clots to take place, and the clots travel down our bloodstream, and that's leading us to heart disease. That's leading us, our pancreas starts to inflame. That's leading us to diabetes. And that's why we're finding ourselves living with those things. So we got to know, do you know your blood type? We know that certain blood types are very rare. O negative. O negative blood is rare. Around 1 in 7 people have O negative. Around 13% of our blood donors have O negative blood in comparison to 35% who have O positive blood. That's why in the ambulance, they're always carrying O negative because remember, O can go to anybody, right? So they only have enough O negative blood. If they find out you're O negative, man, they want your blood. They're going to be like a vampire. I want your blood. Everyone can receive O negative red blood cells. So they're called universal donors, as I said earlier, because anyone can receive the red blood cells from their donations. Although about 8% of the population has O negative blood. A lot of us on this call probably have, if you're O, it's probably O positive. So even in certain races, there is a difference based on our blood type. And I'm sharing this because if African Americans have 47% O positive and we don't even know it, and we're eating a food that is against O blood type, then that attributes to why so many different issues and chronic issues and diseases are taking place. The Latin Americans, 53% are O positive, 39% are O positive in the Asian community, and 37. These statistics come from the American Red Cross, who always have the trucks out there having you to donate blood. You see the level of statistics for those that are O negative. Most rare blood types by ethnicity is rare, which is what? The AB. Less than 1% of the whole population have AB. But guess what? African Americans, that's 7%. Latin, 2%. Asian, 7%. Caucasian, 3%. Very, very rare. And when we talk about A positive, we talk about 24% of African Americans are A positive. Even less, 2% are A negative. Latins 29%, Asians 27%, and 33% are A positive Caucasians.
There's a time that I was overweight and catching a cold all the time, every season. I had to change that. Let's talk about how I did it. It seems like I've always had this book, Eat Right for Your Type. And one day I cracked the book open, or I stumbled over the book one more time, and I said, you know what, I'm going to try this. So if I could give it to you in a nutshell, the blood type diet has the premise that you eat foods that go very well with your type of body chemistry, and you avoid foods that don't go well with your type of body chemistry. And your body chemistry is determined by what your blood type is. There's still studies going on about it. There's still things to find out about it. There's really not enough clinical studies on it to find out if this is really the truth, but so far it's working for me. I would say try it for you. That balanced diet part is where I came in with the blood type thought or conversation, with the notion or the premise that everybody's different. There's different types of blood types, and because of those different blood types, I feel like people just need to at least know what type of blood type you are, and from there you can start your journey to this is what it says I should eat, this is what I do, or maybe I could change this, or it says don't eat this, maybe that's what I'll do, because you can try to find out, dial in what's going on with you if you feel bloated, if you feel inflammation, if you have inflammation that doesn't seem to be going away, all right? So how different foods affect your body and mind is important to know.
It's important to know. I mean, when you're living with sickness, when you're living with chronic diseases, when you're living with inflammation, when you're living with pain, it seems natural to say, let me try something else. Because by following the blood type diet, you can protect yourself from common viruses, infections, take a stand against life-threatening diseases. You can achieve your ideal weight because some of those things that you're eating against your blood type is slowing down weight loss, slowing down the aging process, and then cleanse your body of the toxins and unhealthy fats. They have done statistics. There's been so much research. There's so much research. I mean, it got to be so much research, I had to stop. Because certain blood types hemorrhage more than others. Certain blood types like type A are easier to have a blood clot. AB and AB are easier to have heart disease. And especially when you're a B and you're eating against your blood type. You're eating the very food that you really should not be eating, or at least you should minimize it. So that's why they're more prone to heart disease, strokes. Those that are ABs, heart attacks, than people with AB or O blood. For strokes, people with AB have an 83% higher risk. Dementia, Alzheimer's, oh my God, there's so much happening in our society today. Listen, with our culture, with African American culture, people everywhere, every race, every creed. But there was a survey, there was a study done in 2014, published in Neurology, of more than 1,000 people, suggested people with blood type AB have an 82% greater risk. But then think about We change that risk, no matter what your blood type is, by eating against our blood type. Stomach conditions. You heard him talk about he was an O type and he has had stomach problems. Listen, a lot of that is because we eat against our O blood type because we have the stomach acid that is tailored to be able to accept a little more meat than the others. And therefore, we don't even realize we're putting damage to our body with ulcers and stomach cancers, pancreatic cancer. In general, people with non-O blood types carry a greater risk. That's the A's, the ABs, and the B's. And then diabetes. Now, we all know that diabetes can be reversed. Did I say cured? No, I didn't. We never claimed to cure or to say that something can be cured or that can be eradicated. But reversal can take place just by you taking charge of your body and your diet and your lifestyle. But when we compare the O's, the participants with the A's and the B's had a higher odds of developing diabetes, especially, I got to add this, especially when they're eating against their blood type. Type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes, the studies go on and on and on. So when somebody tells us there's no science behind this, when somebody tells us I don't believe in this, well, listen, you know, as the gentleman said, the doctor said, they're still researching it. They'll still be researching it. And as I shared in another teaching, I'm not waiting for 10 years for them to figure it out like they've done with so many different drugs and stuff. And then 10 years later, they say, oh, okay, I'm sorry, this is bad for you. Okay, cigarettes are good. Okay, now I'm sorry, this cigarettes cause cancer. How many people have to die before that happens? Lupus. I mean, so many different things. Inflammatory bowel disease. Listen, certain blood types have a tendency, and this has gone on with the ABs, some say it's the O's, some say it's, but the thing is, we got to tap into what's taking place in our own bodies. MS. Those with blood type A positive and B positive have an elevated risk of developing MS. Hashimoto's disease. But the bottom line, guys, the bottom line is that your blood type may have some effects on your risk of having certain diseases. But for many conditions like heart disease and cancer, all of these, your health habits, that's why we need to know what our blood type is, number one. And secondly, find out what are the foods that I could possibly change. Whether you become a vegan or a vegetarian or a plant-based eater, that's completely up to you. But what about changing those things? One or two things. Start somewhere in saying, okay, I'm going to stop eating this because this is going against my blood type. I mean, the B group, one of the 4 basic types, people with type B have the most resilient digestive systems. But they're lucky that their bodies aren't adverse to grains, meat, and dairy. They should just aim at a balanced diet. Lots of green vegetables. Corn, lentils, tomatoes, and peanuts are best avoided.
Apparently, O's and A's are complete opposites. O can eat meat, A should really not eat any meat. The B blood type takes the best of both worlds and takes them on a journey, all right? And it taking them on a journey is why they probably call it the nomad. Isn't that crazy? All right, so a couple things about the B's. You guys are balanced. You have a strong immune system. You have a tolerant digestive system. Your most flexible dietary choices. You have the most flexible dietary choices. How's that nice? You're a dairy eater. Okay. And you respond best to stress with creativity. Do you know that about yourself, B people? Do you even know that you're a B blood type? Wait a minute, wait. Have you checked your blood type? Because you need to know what your blood type is, okay? Please get your blood type so we can continue this conversation. Now, I heard that the B blood type should be eating lamb as opposed to beef. But what they absolutely should not be eating is chicken. Now, I would think that chicken is, benign. It's like, I mean, what? It's just, give me some chicken. Let me get a chicken wing. I'm gonna say, please, okay? I just got to the cookout and I want some chicken. But for you, B blood type brethren, they say it seems to be true, right? That The protein that is the chicken protein does not get broken down by your body very well, which causes inflammation and kind of makes your blood a little bit heavier and thicker.
Any bees in the house? Any bees in the house that love your chicken? I'm just saying, don't shoot the messengers, right? Those are the A, okay? On the other end of the spectrum are people with the blood group A. Studies show these people have a low acidic content, making it difficult for them to digest meat. And this group has shown a tendency, and I've known some bees that they cut out chicken and their life has changed. They've cut out shrimp, they've cut out some of the seafood that's against the bees, and their life literally has changed, where they were sick all the time and now they aren't. So the A's, so for them, it's recommended a vegetarian type diet with restricted animal fat because you have a low acidic content. Since they also have thicker blood, it's best for them to avoid any kind of fatty meat.
And today we're talking about the A blood type diet. You guys have the coolest name. You are called the cultivator. You guys have migrated from Africa into calmer territories. You become farmers. You can become the greenest thumb. So you A blood types are actually very good vegetarians. Not that someone shouldn't have meat at some point, because you should have some meat at some point. Between Black, Caucasian, and Asian, there are different recommendations of how much meat a mainly vegetarian person should eat.
So here's the thing about it. Once you understand your blood type, if you know it, then you can recognize what certain foods you should or should not have and on what level. Even if I'm a blood type O and I can have meat, but yes, I need to be careful about the meat I eat. I'm no longer eating anything that's farm raised. It's got to be grass fed, like my ancestors did when they had the chickens and the cows and the pigs in the backyard. And then let's talk about the AB, somewhere in the middle, the AB group. This group combines the vulnerabilities of both the A's and the B's, and that's falling into a sensitive zone. People with this blood type fare better with a diet that's more vegetarian in nature as well, because remember, they're part A and they're part B. And since they don't have enough stomach acid, let's say you're an AB and you're eating like an O. Or let's say you're an A or a B, let's say you're a B who's not supposed to eat chicken, but you're living with an O who can, and the O is cooking. The O is bringing in the food, and you're both eating the same way. Are you getting this? Are you seeing why it's so difficult?
The AB blood type diet. They call you guys a name, and I'm sorry about the name that they call you in this book. I'm going to share the name. I don't want you to think that there's anything bad about this name that they call you, but I'm going to call you the name, okay? The name is the Enigma. So they call you an enigma because you are part A type and part B type, and you have some characteristics of both of them, but there's things that the A's and the B's can do that you shouldn't do, and vice versa. So let me just give you the broad strokes, the highlights right now, okay? So you have an overly tolerant immune system. You have a sensitive digestive tract, and you respond best to stress with spirituality, with physical verve, and creative energy, which is so beautiful. And you are an evolutionary mystery. Ooh. All right, so.
Y'all have to forgive me because I really got engrossed in this. And then me being an O, I really wanted to check this out because people with type O are more prone to stomach problems because of the high acidic content in our stomach. We overdo it. So while you digest protein better than the A's, the ABs, and the B's, we got to be cautious about consuming too many fats or carbohydrates. Now, listen, if our culture is a bunch of O's in our culture, we saw the statistics, we saw the highest percentage, but look how we're eating. What are we eating? We're eating the fast food. We're going through the lines to get our food, not exercising, because they're known to have a sluggish metabolism, so they must exercise regularly and avoid the grains and the heavier oils. Oh my God, we were raised up on the Crisco. Fresh fruits such as berries, plums, bananas, and pears are beneficial as they are friendly with the typical stomach enzymes of those that have type O blood.
Let me just tell you about the history of the blood type diet. It starts from the beginning of man. And we're talking about O, which actually stands for old. Everything, man, comes from Africa. We're from Africa. Everyone on Earth is from Africa. They were first hunter-gatherers, living and breeding and growing and populating the Earth. As the O blood type changed its environment, it started changing the chemistry of the O blood types to become all the other blood types. So you have A, you have B, and you have AB. They became the most fierce animal on the planet. They were able to hunt in packs. They can make weapons. They can make plans. Get ready for the hunt. They would eat fruit and vegetables. They'd be sharp. They'd bring back the prey, and now they're feeding the family.
And see, the thing is, I showed last few times back when we were talking about our genes and where we come from, those that are African Americans come from an African American pyramid, which is totally different from the standard American diet. Just saying. It's based on fruits and vegetables, the basis of their diet from Africa, not from slavery. Now, here's what blew me away, because my husband used to always tell me, looks like you're always getting bit. Well, he was right. Because guess what mosquitoes like? They like the blood. I had to deviate from this for a minute just to tell you this, guys. And I know I'm going over time today, but if you're always getting bit, it's because they love. Now, I'm not saying they don't bite the A's, the B's, and the ABs. Yep, they bite everybody. But if they've got a choice of who they're going to bite, it's going to be a blood type O, because they can get the scent. 85% of people give off a chemical signal through their skin, get that indicates their blood type. And if you're one of them, mosquitoes will find you. They find me. I don't do the outside stuff, because they gonna find me. No matter what your blood type is, they'll find you, blood type O's. Here's another thing, and this is a whole nother teaching that I'm not gonna get into today, but relating to characters. Japan was one of the first countries to adapt this book when the United States says, we're not doing this because we have not done enough science to prove it. But in Japan, they adapted it. And guess what? In Japan, that's where you find blue zones, people that live to be hundreds of years of age. Matter of fact, they even have a blood type horoscope where they match couples together based on their blood type, because there's some compatibility, some personalities. Now, I'm not saying you can't be compatible with somebody that doesn't have that particular blood type, just like you can love somebody that's a different zodiac sign that they say you're not to be compatible with. But if you go back over your life and see who you have not been compatible with, you might want to see if it might be an A or an AB or somebody that you don't get along with.
And today we're talking about the A blood type diet. You guys have the coolest name. You are called the Cultivator. You guys.
That wasn't the video I wanted. He talked about that he was never compatible with. He might have played that later. He's not compatible with certain blood types that he's found out in his past. When you look back over who you've had a divorce with, when you look at who you no longer get along with, find out what the blood type is. There might be a pattern. So, guys, it's safe to say that most of us haven't been eating according to our blood type. And if we didn't even know what our blood type is, of course, and you didn't know why it was important, I hope you leave here today realizing how important it is, because if you eat the wrong food, it could be slowly killing you. So let's look at some avoids. Okay, we've talked about some. If you're a blood type A, something as little as the tomatoes goes against your blood type, and you're not able to digest it. We talked about the lectins in all of our foods that are not good for us, but we got to cook them, do it a certain kind of way. Lamb chops, A's that are eating bananas every single day with your cereal, which that's a whole nother talk about what's in a box, that cereal that's in a box that's got that's manufactured so it stays on the shelf, right? Well, all that stuff that they're putting in there, look at the label. See how many products, see how many things are listed? Too many. Some stuff you can't even pronounce. I know the bees, you're still thinking about the chicken. Listen, I'm gonna tell you how you can get the yes list. You need to know what you can have, but you want to definitely leave the chicken off your plate, the shrimp, the black beans, the lobster. I know. But don't you want to live most healthily? Don't you want to feel better? Don't you want to thrive? O's, yep, you see it, catfish. But you can't have red snapper. You know, I know that because I'm a blood type O, so I know what I can have, right? Can't have the avocados, the oranges, or the white wine, but I can't have red wine, not the cashews. And then the ABs, because you're part of the A's and the B's, there's a lot of limitations there, but you can change your health. This is the book he was reading out of. 4 blood types, 4 diets, eat right for your type. Been around a long time. This is not new. And you might be here hearing this for the very first time. It's been around, published 1996. But why are we just hearing about it? If you're just hearing about it for the first time, or why did you put the book aside? Why are you just learning that food does impact your blood type? You know why? Because if it's not taught in medical school, or if it's not created by Big Pharma, who does all the medication, then it's not being promoted in the United States. Do you know that we have stuff that's here that's banned in other countries? I did the teaching on that. We have products that are in our products that we buy in the grocery store, like, for instance, Cheetos, especially the hot, fiery ones. That red color is banned in other countries, but it's available here, like it's okay. Oh yeah, maybe 20, 30 years from now, they'll tell us that it's not okay. But by then, we've got everybody with cancer and diabetes and high blood pressure. Why not decide to become a blue zone? 6 areas in the world where people eat far less animal meat and live longer than average. We want you to start now. That's why I'm talking to you, because I want you to start with yourself. There's only one in the United States in Loma Linda, Iowa. But in Greece and Costa Rica and Italy and Japan and Singapore, all these areas have places where they eat far less animal protein, but they're thriving. I want to live to be over 100 years of age, but I don't want you to push me in a wheelchair. I don't want you to have to feed me. I don't want to lose my cognition. So we've got to learn what to do.
Investigate what your blood type is and see about eating the way that your blood type is by avoiding the foods that you shouldn't eat, eating the foods that you should eat. When I changed my food, my diet, my waistline got smaller. I stopped getting that summer cold, winter cold. My skin cleared up. I really, really need to take better care of myself now, because for us, this moment right now that we're sharing together, this is the youngest that we're going to be right now. I'm feeling like I have to do these things because I'm feeling my mortality. But let's make every moment count, and let's look towards a brighter, healthy, wealthy future. And don't blame anyone else, okay? Your health is your responsibility. Your choices are what brought you to exactly where you are right this instant, listening to me, watching me talk to you. Everything that you have done up to this point has led you to this moment. Can you feel the moment? Can you look back and see the things that you've done or haven't done that made you choose what you're doing? And have you noticed that what you're doing is what it is? You're there, okay? Because no matter where you are, you're always right there.
Absolutely amazing. So I hope that we can now make the right choices. Make the right choices. We're going to stop recording.